The next loop function will be do while, and we are going to type while again in a search because this is going to be the easiest way to find it. And on the right hand side, right after the while, you've got do-while. If we click on that one, and what it says, do-while loops are very similar to while loops, except that truth expression is checked at the end of each iteration instead of in the beginning. The main difference from regular while loops is that the first iteration of a do-while loop is guaranteed to run. The truth expression is only checked at the end of the iteration, whereas it may not necessarily run with a regular while loop. The truth expression is checked at the beginning of each iteration. If it evaluates to false right from the beginning, the loop execution would end immediately. This is obviously referring to the while loop. The do-while loop works the opposite way. So first it runs the statement within the brackets and then checks if the condition is true. So let's quickly go back to our editor, and we are going to start with the I variable again, and we are going to associate an integer 0 with it, and then we are going to run our do while statement. So we start with the do, then set of curly brackets, and while at the end. We are checking now for the basically we put in the expression in, so we check if I is more than 0, then obviously we want to execute the next statement. So the first thing we are going to do is echo this the value associated with I, and obviously value associated with I is 0. So if it was just a while statement, it wouldn't return anything to the browser, it wouldn't echo anything because 0 is not more than 0. So whatever is inside of this while statement wouldn't execute. But because it's a do while, it first does something and then checks, basically, then runs the evaluation expression. Basically, it executes the expression and checks what it returns. So if we save it now and preview it in a browser, if we quickly refresh the page, we get 0. So even though this expression returns false, we still get the first statement executed, basically. So that's how it works. It's the opposite way than while loop. If we put this while loop at the beginning and remove this do, then obviously this wouldn't ever get returned to the browser. So that's one of the examples. Let's continue with the similar one. And now I still equals 0, and then we go on to specify max value, which we'll set to 10. And what I'm going to do inside of this do statement, before we actually do anything inside of them do statement, let's quickly put our condition here. So I needs to be less than max. And what I'm going to do now is check if I double equal symbol equals 0. That means this is the first time this statement executes. Then I want to echo the UL HTML tag, which is basically unordered list, the beginning of the unordered list. And then what I'm going to check at the end is if I equals double equals max, if it equals 10, obviously, because 10 is associated with this max variable, then I want to echo closing UL statement. So we've got back together our unordered list wrapped with these tags. And in between, what I want to do is echo li, then I'm going to echo plus I. I'm pre-incrementing this I variable. So basically the first time we run, we're checking if I equals 0, and then I'm incrementing this and echoing this in the browser. So it's going to return, rather than 0, because I'm pre-incrementing, it will already be 1 when it's actually echoed to the browser. So this is already going to return 1. And then echo closing li tag for 1, obviously bullet point. So what happens next? We are comparing this already incremented I variable, which will the first time round, rather than 0, it's going to be 1, because we're incrementing. Here it's going to be 0, but once we pre-increment it, it's going to already be 1, and it checks 1 equals max. Does 1 equal 10? No, until it hits the last iteration, which this will pre-increment number 9 to 10, and then obviously 10 equals 10, at which point we are going to return this. Obviously, this while statement will then end because 10 isn't less than 10. So obviously, while this whole loop will end after this. So let's quickly run it in a browser. If we save everything, refresh the page, and there we go. And if I just preview source of the page, you can see we've got a starting UL tag, then we've got all of these items. Each iteration wraps the value associated with this I variable within the opening and closing li tag until we hit number 10, at which point we are closing also the unordered list, obviously. So that's how it works. Now, one thing that we need to now check as well is the same statement that we did before. So now let's quickly remove all these items here. We still keep do while, but what I'm going to do now is create an array. So array equals and 2 square brackets, and I'm going for the same array, so it's going to be 1, 2, and 3. And then what I'm going to do is use this list assignment, so list language construct key and value returned by executing this each function on our array. So basically time we're going to be iterating through this array, we are going to have key and value returned and available inside of this do while loop. The only problem which you will see in just a moment, I'm going to simply echo this the same way I did before. So echo key. First we echo in the key, then I'm going to echo this angle bracket to point to the right, the value echo, and then value. No, array value, there we go. And then let's echo br, new line. And if we now save it, and as you can see, my IDE is automatically highlighting these two because there is a problem. If we refresh the page, there we go, undefined variable key and undefined variable value. Now, why do we get this? As you can see, even though we still get the result after that, but we get this notice here, this error. If I go back to the editor, let's quickly think about how it works. We know that first time we execute this do while statement, we return something, but we don't really have access to this key and value yet, because this key and value is only created once this statement from within this block has been executed. So the first time around, we don't have this key and value basically available within the statement. So what we need to do, it's only the second time around that we actually have access to them. So what we need to do the first time around, we need to create variables called key and value, and it's just assign undefined with them. And now I'm just going to duplicate this line and change the name of a variable to value. And now the first time around, that's what we're going to get. The second time around is what we're going to get after execution of this while expression has been actually done the first time round. If we save it and preview everything in the browser, refresh the page, the first time we get undefined, and then we start getting the values, actually these keys and values, which are passed to the next iteration. So the first iteration comes with undefined, second iteration which comes with whatever this statement, this expression has returned. So just another thing obviously to think about when you're dealing with do while statement.